Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode, another edition of JSMFX. I'm your host Arnold, and I'm about to do the reviews for the week of 9th to 13th of February 2026, and also the possible forecast or probable forecast for 16th to 20th February 2026. Okay, there's a lot to learn today. There's a lot to see, and also there's a lot to keep in check. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Okay, so welcome back once again. Just like always, we will start over with the news for next week. That is the 16th to 20th of February 2026. So looking at Monday, we have the GDP growth rate news for the yens, or rather the Asian. So for me, I'm really not going to focus on that one because I don't, trade the yen pair. So that's a pass for me for Monday, and going over to Tuesday, because I trade the USDCHF, the DAX, and also Euro USD. I normally look at the USD news so much because I think for me, according to my data, that is the only news that actually helps, or rather makes brings in volatility to the charts to actually make those significant moves. So for Tuesday, yes, I'll be looking at the Empire State Manufacturing Index, but not really that much because they don't really, they are not really that volatile for me, and according to my data. Wednesday, we have the building permits for the USD news, and also the durable good orders. But what I'll be watching so much, as much as it will be out of my sessions, out of my plan, and I won't be trading at that much, but FOMC will be very much important for me. So as vital as it can be, I'd love to excuse me, I'd love to focus on how to see on what price will do at that point, so that I can be ready for the next day. Okay, because this one actually happens or plays out in the late hours of the night from where I come from, that is Mombasa, Kenya. For me, FOMC comes in very late, I think around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., somewhere around there. So at that time, I'm off the markets, I'm off the charts, and I'm not trading. So I'll just let it play out, and then the next day, which is on Thursday, I'll try and see what could be the probable move after maybe anything that happened during the FOMC on Wednesday night. Thursday, we can see we have the Gunter speech from the ECB. I think this is the European Central Bank, something like that. Then later on, you have the jobless claims news. So yes, this is something also for me to watch out for, and be prepared. Okay. Friday, now we have the PCE. Yeah, now this is where the day will be very, very busy. Maybe have some little bit of possible manipulation before maybe PCE takes them out, and maybe continues with the moves that they were intended to do. So I think Friday will be very much important for me, and I'll also be very wary of that to see what they will have in store. Okay, so let's now jump in the charts. Let us look at my mistakes. Let us look at what I would have done, and also going forward, what I will do. Okay, so strap up, and let's start off with the DAX, which is the Germany 40. Okay, so let's now begin by looking at the charts. So starting off, just as usual, we're going to begin with the DAX, and this is the DAX, and we, just like always, we're going to start off with the monthly time frame. So yes, we are still looking at the uptrend, and the uptrend is still continuing. Okay, had that pullback, very long pullback to this demand, and then price shot to the upside. All through last year, we saw a very huge range, okay, happening, where price came down later on to take out these lows, and then shot to the upside. Okay, so with this candle, price came back inside this demand, which was at the actual pullback that was left, and also left a demand down there. So price came back to that demand, and then now it's shooting back up to maybe signaling that they are continuing with the uptrend. Okay, so with this candle, we can see that price is still there. It has not broken this high. So meaning, excuse me, we could be seeing some few moves to the upside. Sorry about that. Some few moves to the upside, maybe to break that high. But just to give you a heads up, if it does break this low like that, then maybe now will be, for me, I'll be looking for possible supplies, visible supplies that I'll be taking my trades from, and actually play a little bit of a pullback, okay, to any areas of demand in the lower time frames that were left unmitigated around there. So I guess that's just the only thing that is left to be done, and also sit on our hands to just wait and monitor price to see if everything will turn out the way we expected. But for now, price is still moving on to the uptrend. We have this, for me, I'm still seeing this doji as very important. So maybe we could also be looking at maybe few moves to the downside from there. But all the same, price is still on an uptrend. Weekly, also same thing. After the range, we see that sweep. Okay, so after this range right there, we see that sweep, okay, to the downside to take out those lows, and then price went up to break out this ascending triangle, and then came back with that doji. Remember that doji? Yes, that doji to that demand, and then went to the upside. Okay, and here also created another doji which price came back to, okay, and then right now is trying to give us the vibes of continuing to the upside. Okay, so for this one also same place. Oh, sorry, for this one also, if this low gets breached, say for example like that, okay, then I'll be looking for any supplies around here and then play the pullback. Now when I talked about the demand areas that were not mitigated, it can be one of them if price chooses to actually change that direction. Okay, so for now I can only say the buyers or the bullish traders, whatever, they're still ruling. Okay, they're still ruling, they're still in control, and we'll just have to wait for more development before we make any decision. Daily, now daily things are getting a bit interesting. Okay, so from this monthly, I think this is the monthly or the weekly, from this monthly demand right here, we can see how price played inside that range. Okay, so what happened here is for the daily, we are playing between that low and that high. Okay, where my arrow is, price came back to that demand, which is actually an area where reacted from this supply and the supply, okay, and then went to the upside. So right here we see another move to the downside, a little bit of a pullback, then price went again to the downside. So when it came back up to take out that high of this last pullback, we had a change of character, okay, and price pushed higher, okay, to take out all these highs, and then push lower to come and take out those lows, okay, and also mitigate. I think there was a demand here. I'll try and draw that through for you to see. So taking out those lows, and then we see price going on to the upside. So right here is where we see price pulling back right here to these exchanging wicks, okay, and it's from these exchanging wicks that we also see the price going out now up to the to that supply to take out these highs, and also to mitigate this supply which was left, okay, in the 4 hour. We saw last week that we had a descending triangle, so meaning that descending triangle and this void, okay, this momentum candle, the bearish candle, was supposed to be filled. So they filled it right there, okay, and right now they giving us that vibes again of like maybe switching to the downtrend. Okay, so what I'm seeing right now is we have that move to the downside again to these exchanging wicks, okay, and price is just ranging around here, but we are not sure. Okay, we might say that this was a pullback, price went to the upside, when it came back down it caused a change of character. But for me, a change of character is more significant when the candle actually closes below that last low, which is this one for this case. Okay, so if we get, for me, if I get um a close below this low, then automatically I'll be looking for I'll be expecting another candle to at least come back down like that to close now below this low. Okay, and also cross these exchanging wicks. Okay, so that we are left, for me, so that I'm left with this void. Okay, so after being left with this void, then I'll be looking for any supplies, okay, around there possibly, and then play now that move to the downside, and also make that deeper pullback. Okay, that deeper pullback maybe below that 50% of the EQ. Okay, so if I'm looking also for any targets, then maybe I'll be looking for any break from here, or maybe deep inside this candle, or maybe just down to the extreme, which is here. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing right now. That's what I'm anticipating, and that's what I'll be looking at coming in next week. Okay, of 16th to 20th of February 2026. Now, 4 hour, this is where now things got a bit interesting, and I can say for sure that this time I did hesitate, but I also learned something. Okay, I learned something on the way. Now, I don't want to explain so much about what's going on here, or together with the trades, like this one and that one, and also this one, but I'm trying to, give you the full scope of this time frame, so that we look at the structure, we look at where, price is and where we'd expect it to go. Now, for this case, we have this low, okay, and this high. So price shot back to the downside, okay, to actually come to the discounted areas, okay, then came back up like that to this supply, which pushed again price to the lower side. Okay, again lower than this last low, meaning they're actually trying to come to the extreme side of the structure. Okay, they are trying to come to the discounted side of the structure. So for me, I'm expecting this to be a downtrend over maybe to this demand, because if you check from this demand before price, broke this last high, as you can see right here, for my case with the structure, we had a change of character from here. Okay, so after that change of character, we have not seen price coming back to that demand. So maybe this could be the reason, okay, for price to come down, by creating all those lows, all that uptrend, and also the sell side liquidity. But let's not judge that for now. Let's just look at what we have at hand. Okay, so again, we have another change of character here, bullish one, which price actually shot to the upside and took out those highs, remember, on the daily, and then came back down. Okay, this was a trade that I missed, okay, right there, because price pulled back to the supply and then shot to the downside, took another break, and then shot to the downside again to actually create that double bottom. Okay, but I think this was a low that was taken out by this week, so meaning this low actually is not relevant right now. What is relevant is that low where my arrow is right now, and some of the few areas of demand here, okay, that were just used as reaction points to push price to the upside. So again, now when price came down here, we saw another change of character again right here. I've not drawn on it, but I hope now you understand how we look at those change of characters. So another bullish chalk to the upside to that supply, a little bit of a break, okay, and then a push to the upside again to that supply, and then a little bit of a reaction from that supply to actually take out these lows and create this demand and also push price to the upside. Okay, so right here again we have another pullback, and then price moved to the upside. Okay, now before they did, or maybe officially had that change, bearish change of character, we have a little bit of range before price finally chose to build that change of character right there. Okay, so what I'm seeing right now is from last week's video, okay, which was this last blue line. Okay, we were still looking or viewing how this week was. Okay, so for this week's video, I already talked about this demand. You see this demand right here. I already talked about it, and I mentioned that I'll be expecting a bounce off from this demand over to, to push price to the upside, okay, to come and finally mitigate, excuse me, this supply here, especially the green daily supply and also the 4-hour supply. Now the green daily supply was mitigated right there, okay, and then we see price pushing to the downside. Now when we push to the downside, we see price crossing this last low, okay, meaning now after crossing this last low, we have another bearish change of character, okay. But before that, I want you to notice that we had the first change of character right here, then price pushed to the upside, so meaning there was just ton of, buy side liquidity around there, which price took them out and then came back down to take out now this other low, okay, meaning now we have two change of characters, but the first one was just a liquidity trap. Okay, this one here was a liquidity trap. So this one could be the most genuine one that we're expecting, okay, which later on after that range, we see price going down lower to actually take out this low, okay. So yes, we would have seen a reaction from that supply to continue to the downside, but that wasn't the case. So for now, what I'm anticipating for me is this range is kind of telling or giving us the vibes of still buyers are in control, okay, because it's also still bouncing, or rather it's still inside this demand. So from there, I feel that maybe we will just, continue the buys to maybe up to this, what do you call it? The 4-hour supply, and then now maybe look for any, possible moves to the downside. Okay. So two things, either it continues from there like that. Okay. Either it continues like that, or maybe comes back up. Okay. And also, let me just draw this right now real quick to help you see, or maybe come back up because there was a change of character there, so we might fill this void, okay, we must fill this void and also mitigate this supply, okay, before maybe looking for all those confluences to actually validate that downward move that we could be anticipating, okay. But for now, this is a demand that's holding, okay, this is the demand that's holding this price, and also buyers are still in the control. But let us see what next week will play out right after this vertical line that I've just drawn in, which is the Monday of next week, okay. Now there was a trade here, okay, see that one. Now the reason why I took that trade is because we had that change of character right here. Okay, so push back, push down, push up, a little bit of a range, then push down. So we had a change of character. And then when price came back up, I took that sell stop. Okay, price came in my way, as you can see, it came in my way. But later on, I think this was on Tuesday or Wednesday. Let me see, Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday. Got me banned out. Okay, took me out to my stop loss and mitigated that area. Now, the reason why I took this trade is because I felt we would, continue to the downside and also build liquidity, look to see if maybe the big guys were building liquidity from that area. But that wasn't the case because this was a demand. Now, the reason why I was wrong, and I'm not justifying this, but I'm also taking responsibility, is I was not on my desk. Okay, I was not on my desk, and apparently I really don't know why, but TradingView doesn't allow you to have the same account in your multiple devices. Say for example, if you have them in your PC and your phone. Okay, so if you open TradingView on your phone with the same account, then the one on the PC will just close automatically, and vice versa. If you have it on your phone, then you try and access it from your PC with the same account, then that's the Gmail account, right? Then the one on the phone will just have to close. So what I did is I just, out of curiosity, I just had to open another account from my TradingView on the phone, and then I tried to do the markups, manually again because I was at work and I couldn't remember everything that was drawn on. And another thing is different brokers. For me, I'm using forex.com, but different brokers were actually another point, to put across, because I had to own it up that I had another broker, okay, in my demo in the TradingView that was opened up, okay, just to get to access the pair. Okay, but what happened is for this demand that I've just drawn on and expecting price to bounce from, it was not visible in those other brokers. Okay, so again, I say that you need to be very, very cognizant about this. If you are actually on the, on the journey of doing this job, then you need to understand that different brokers also have different shapes of candles. Okay, so for me, forex.com gave me this demand. Okay, and I was very right according to last week's analysis that we did last week. I was very right that price would still bounce up from there. But when I got in on my phone, the same drawings were not on my phone. The same drawings on my phone were not the same as my PC. So meaning I had forgotten most of the vital markups, the vital POIs that I actually drawn on, and I went I went on to just make a irrational decision to assume that now we have this change of character, we have the return, and now we are ready to push to the downside, which that wasn't the case. So coming back home, I noticed that this was a demand, okay, that I was actually expecting price to bounce up from, and this was the trade that I should have taken. Even if price was just wanting to come to this supply, the meaning this would have been just a simple 2R. Okay, it would have been a simple 2R. But because now there was a difference in the POI markups between the phone and the PC, then that just had me also confused. Okay, again, I say I'm not justifying it, I'm taking full responsibility, and next week I'll have to see on how I can balance those two so that I don't miss out on such trades again. Now this would have been a very comfortable 2R. Imagine this one here would have been a very comfortable 2R, and it would have given me at least a trade to work with, which could have given me that profit. Okay, and also trying to shoot up my metrics to the upside. But then again, we just have to say that that wasn't the case, and it's a lesson learned. So I have journaled it, and I'll let it play out, and see on how next week is going to be. So for me, I'd say that I'll be waiting for price to at least come here, okay, to this supply or maybe this supply, okay, and see on how it will react from there, and make those quick decisions to know which other areas I'll be anticipating for price to go. But for now, this is just an area of a limbo area, and I don't want to get involved. What I'll only do maybe in the lower time frames, I'll want to see maybe if this say for example this demand, if this demand will be ready to like bounce off price from there and do that pullback, then maybe on the lower time frame, say the 15-minute, I'll want to see more of reaction to the upside, say for example something like that. Maybe now look for the demand and then play that move to the upside from the lower time frames. But let's just look at 15-minute and see what we may have in store. So 15 minutes, let's now just check on the whole scope of the structure, and we can see that we are playing, we had that high and this low. I think this was last week if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's last week. And then price went up, range a little bit around there, and then shot to the upside. Okay, so this was the area where I should have, or rather I would have taken that trade from, but that wasn't the case. So after the move to the upside, we see a couple of ranges, okay, before price shot to the downside. This was on Thursday, okay, which we see price really coming down very violently, and also leaving out all this what do you call it, all this void. Okay, so again after that we see a little bit of another range, okay, during I think Friday, and then price shot to the downside. Now we did have NFP, and we also had we had NFP on Wednesday, and then we had CPI on Friday. So for Germany 40, I don't think so much was actually palpable. But what we see is we had a couple of ranges before price shot to the upside, because creating that bullish kind of pullback, okay, and giving us that vibe that maybe they actually want to do the initial pullback that we anticipated from the 4 hour. Again, we see this supply being breached, okay, by those highs, those wicks taking out those highs, and then we see another move to the downside to come and mitigate that demand. So now I can't tell which side we're actually going to, look at from there, because if you check very well from my internal structure, for my swing structure, I'm playing between this low and this high. Price is trying to pull back, okay. So maybe if they are, at least if it wants to pull back, then it will just pull back to the 50% EQ or maybe below. But aside from that, we also have this kind of, bullish move that is trying to, be created. So if I see a break to the upside to actually close above this high, because this is the last eyeballs that I have, then I'll be looking for any demands around there. Say, for example, this one, because this one actually, if you check very well, we had another change of character here. I'm not drawn in on that, but I hope you're seeing. So maybe look for any look for any entry from there, and then play to that pullback to the upside, or maybe take out also those highs and mitigate that 4 hour extreme supply that is up there before the break of that descending triangle that we saw on the 4 hour. Okay, so that's just it. That's what I'll be looking and also expecting from the DAX. Alternatively, also, if price does wants to come and take out these lows, close below this low, this last demand, then I'll be looking for any supplies there to actually play that move to the downside to either mitigate this demand or this demand, or also this demand and also this demand, because all of them to me look unmitigated, okay, and also actually facilitate that pullback. Okay, so it's from this break of this low. I'll only show you, but I'll delete it because that's not my viable low. Okay, it's only from this low that I'll want to see if our price will break through, so that we continue to the downside. But for now, I'm looking forward to check if any of those moves will be made either to the upside or downside. So yeah. Anyway, enough about the DAX. Let's now move to USDCHF and see what we have in store. Okay, so USDCHF. Okay, so we're still in this range from this low. Okay, we have this huge range, which later on turned to a downtrend. Okay, like that. And you see how price range again right here. Okay, and then short to the downside. So we have this pullback, which price came down, and then another pullback, price came down again, and then price reacted from that supply, and then push price to the lower side. So from this candle, I can only say that we have a slight couple of pullbacks, but still undecided. We'll have to wait and see what will play out. But overall, the price is still moving to the downside. Okay, so this was a monthly. Let's now move to the weekly. Now, weekly also, we have price ranging around there, and then move to the downside to mitigate that weekly, is it monthly demand, and then we have a slight pullback. Okay, so for me right here, I don't see anything playing out. I just see a couple of up and downs, but for my anticipation, according to the book, or rather according to the way things are going, price is still on a downtrend and could continue lower from there. Okay, like that. But also we have another possible move to the upside, maybe to facilitate that pullback, to also mitigate that supply before we continue to the downside. So anything can happen, but for me, from the weekly, I don't see anything playing out. The daily, I'm playing between that high, okay, this high and this low. Now we had that very huge, or rather significant pullback, but there was no change of character. So meaning, as we see price, shooting to the downside, we could just, continue down from there. Okay. But again, I talked of this trade last week. And this is why I say, as much as I can advise you to, like look out for any point of interest where price could react from and then, continue our direction, or rather take a trade from there, I'm not advising anyone to actually take the trade. Okay, I'm just speaking out of experience and also speaking out of probabilities. Okay, so for this case, we see a couple of ranges, creating that descending triangle. Okay, and then price shot to the upside to take out some few liquidity area points, and then we have another pullback right here, which later on price shot to the downside to this demand. So what I'm seeing right now is price, yes, has reacted from this demand and wants to, like, give us that vibe that it wants to pull back to any areas of supply there. But I don't see any area of supply right now. This could be it, but for me, I see this weak mitigating this supply and then shooting price to the downside. So meaning all this is just shenanigans to make us assume that maybe we would have another pullback to the upside. Okay, but then again, we see as much as we have reacted from this demand after taking out those lows, price went to the upside. Okay, so for anyone that took this trade, you better hold on or also make peace with your trade. Okay, and please never regret on your losses, because all this is just a skill that you're building. So we see a reaction from there, price tagged you in, and then we see another move to the downside. Okay, continuing. So two things: either price comes back up to mitigate the supply and then continues to the downside, or maybe if it does breach that supply, okay, same one from the daily, then I'll be looking for any areas of demand and then play that actual pullback to the upside. So for now, the pullback is not that visible because I don't trust the supply. And also this one, as much as on the weekly it was very much palpable, but from the daily it is not actually that visible. So meaning I really don't have anything to wait on from here. Okay, yes, this is a void and it could, price would want to also mitigate it or rather cover it, okay, before maybe continue to the downside. So anything can happen, but those are just one of the probabilities I might have for this kind of trade, okay, and also that kind of move or rather direction. So that's the daily 4 hour. 4 hour now, things were a bit interesting. 4 hours starting off with the structure, we're looking at a move to the downside and also what do you call it, structure playing between that high and that low. Okay, and just like the daily, my structure is still right there, my low on the 4 hour. So what happened here for me, I saw that we had started to make all those moves to the upside, meaning that this uptrend, okay, was the last high was there, okay, which actually caused a bullish change of character. And then we see another move to the downside to that demand, which later on created this ascending triangle, okay, to this supply before actually moving down, okay, to take out all those lows. This sell side liquidity, this sell side liquidity, okay, and all these lows that were created, okay. So after taking them out, we see another break right here, okay, and then price push to the downside, and then again a move to the upside to check out those highs, creating that bullish change of character, and price did the return, and NFP, okay, push price to the upside like that. Okay, so right there, right until there, I think you have seen what actually happened. And also for me, I put in this notice to tell myself if price closes below this demand, see this demand after the choke, okay, after this change of character, okay, I will scrap off the idea of the anticipated pullback. Okay, so the idea now was there because after taking out these lows right there, price shot to the upside, which actually price didn't close below this low. Okay, and price shot to the upside to actually react from there and then continue to the upside. So meaning two things: one, after NFP short price to the upside, okay, after NFP short price to the upside, we see a couple of ranges which later on price came back down to this demand to react from it. and then now it has come back down to let's say just to this demand. Okay, so either it reacts from there, either it reacts from there, okay, from this demand, and then shoots to the upside. But aside from that, I just want, to see what actually price will give us coming in next week. But for now, I'm anticipating for price to at least still continue with the pullback, but I'll still have to, look for those conferences that I actually talked about, especially from the daily, to happen. So for now, I'll be expecting at least a move to that supply probably, and then look for any areas of demand and then play the actual pullback, because yet again we see that we have this double bottom right here that were left last week, and also these range that were left, also this high, sorry, these highs that were left, this one and that one, that were left last week. Okay, another thing is we have this kind of bullish structure that was created. So let me try and see if I can drag it aside for you to see. Okay, right there. Okay, so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing this kind of move happening like that. Okay, so this return was just to take out these lows, and then maybe they would want, or rather be ready to actually continue with that move to the upside. Okay, that's why I said from the daily, we need to break this daily green supply first before we anticipate the moves to the upside. Okay, but for now the internal structure is actually looking bullish. Okay, somehow it's looking bullish and maybe could continue bullish to the upside to mitigate those areas of supply, especially this one and also this one, because these were the ones used to take out these lows. Okay, and price did actually get back there, so meaning price would be ready to come, okay, right there, to come and take them out and also facilitate or the pullback and also create that bullish kind of momentum to the upside. So yeah, anything can happen. Let's just wait and see. For now, if you are in this trade, you can still hold on, especially on for the 4 hour. It was very precise that from this demand price was tagged with NFP, and for those that are in what do you call the pro firms, then you should know that that was not actually something to take, because you violate one of their rules. So what will happen right now is because NFP has happened, also the CPI, I'll have to wait and see that kind of move, happening. So after the break of that high, then I'll be looking for any demand, and I'll play that initial pullback to the upside. Okay, yeah. So for me, I love taking my trades from the 4 hours so that you see and you give time, you give price time to breathe. Okay, and give you that kind of relaxing moment for you to just be patient and wait for price to play out. So that's my iBoys high, and that is what I'll be expecting for it to be broken before I look for any yeah, look for any demands to actually continue to the upside with it. Okay, 15 minutes now. I think now things can get clear from here, but let's see if we can dissect that all together. Now from the 15-minute structure, I have this low, okay, breaking that high right here, this last high, and then we have that ascending triangle, which was arranged, but there were a couple of trades around there. Okay, then later on we see price shooting to the downside right here. Okay, now this is the conundrum now that I normally get to speak about all the time, that you never know where or what price is going to do. Okay, because if you check very well, we had the IBOS there, IBOS low here, price broke to the downside. We had another structure around here. Okay, this is the beginning of this week that just ended. So we had another structure here from this low and this high, price went to the downside and then broke again to the upside, breaking this high. Okay, did that pullback to that demand and then shot to the upside, especially with the NFP, if I'm not wrong. Okay, then later on we see a little bit of a range, price coming back to that supply, okay, before continuing to, or rather taking out all those lows and also mitigating that areas of demand and taking out all those lows. Okay, so two things, because we have this move to the upside, with the lower high, sorry, high low and high high, For me, I'm seeing this as a pullback. Okay, I'm only seeing this as a pullback, and for that I see price coming in, okay, like that, deeper, okay, to actually facilitate the internal structure to the downside to possibly this demand, okay, like that, and then maybe look for any conferences from there and then continue to the upside, because already they've given us that bullish kind of momentum to the upside. So that's just my anticipation on the 15 minutes to actually merge it up with the 4 hour with the way it's looking. We still have this demand also, so I'm going to be very wary of that. But for now, this is the demand that I'll be waiting to see a price bouncing off from, and also giving us that possibility of maybe a bullish change of character, looking for the demand, and maybe continue to the upside to now mitigate those areas of supply that we looked at in the 4 hour. So I think that's just all, and that's what happened. I didn't have any trade on USDCHF, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I don't think I did. I don't think I did. But for this one, I advise guys that they could get in there. I just didn't know that it would happen on NFP. So for myself, after the move to the downside, I just had to let it go and focus on those other areas of those other pairs, which actually you've seen for the DAX. I just lost, okay, and I really don't like, trading all the pairs, especially at the same time. So for this case, I left USD out of my list. So let's just jump on to the EURUSD and see if there were also any ideas that I took part of and also maybe fell from. Okay, so let's jump over to EURUSD. Okay, so last but not least, we are looking at EURUSD. So starting off from the monthly, we have this move. Okay, let's try and draw that through. We have that low and high, okay, price pullback to the extreme of that range, okay, that range demand, and then right now it's trying to give us that vibe of continuing to the upside, or maybe just continuing with the uptrend. But things are a bit different, because if you check very well here, we had a little break, okay, where price shot to the downside like that. So now the internal range of the whole swing structure of the monthly on EURUSD, we have this high and this low. Okay, so this for me is the lower high, this is the lower low. Now the lower low has pulled price back up to the extreme of the premium areas of the range. Okay, so for me, this is the only supply that I'm looking for price to actually react from. Okay, so now let's zoom in. I've been looking for price to actually react from, and then possibly just shoot to the downside to come and mitigate those areas of demand, or also even target that low to continue with the downtrend, respecting all the more the suppliers that price are actually selling from. Okay, but for now, what is happening is where we are is we have this range, okay, like that, and then price shot to the upside. Again, we see another break here. Okay, sorry, another pullback here, and then break to the upside, take out all those highs, and then move to the downside. I've explained this very much on my previous videos, especially last year and also this year beginning. You can see the price is bouncing off from that demand, okay, and then shooting to the upside. And then with the same candle right there, you see that long wick, price came back down to that demand, and then it's looking like it just wants to continue to the upside. So for me, I can say that between this high and this low of this candle, price is just ranging there, okay. But to be very honest, I'm just anticipating the pullback to the downside. But for now, that uptrend move is still continuing. So let's just be very kind and just wait for price to play out, especially on the higher time frames, to actually react from any areas of any areas of interest that we look to take opportunity from. From the weekly, not really much. I'm not seeing anything much here. For me, I just see this range which price went to the downside, and then later on just came back up to actually mitigate that area of supply of the monthly, and also this for the weekly. Okay, so two things: either now this long week is a pullback, and if I'm going to anticipate that pullback, then I'll be anticipating that pullback to this demand before maybe continue to the upside. Okay, with this candle we can see this doji, we can see that the top here didn't actually, the top ended there. Okay, that's the high, so meaning it didn't actually mitigate that supply. Okay, so if this pullback is still continuing, then I'll be anticipating for price to at least come to this demand before looking to see on how it will react from there, and then come back up to mitigate the supply before possibly, doing the actual pullback that was wanted, or rather expected to happen. But I'm not financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you of the next move. Okay, I'm not that guru, but these patterns actually sometimes they just repeat themselves. But for now, my focus is, for price to possibly come to this demand and see on how price will react from there. Okay, so I think that's the weekly. From the daily now, things are getting a bit interesting. As you can see, we have this. Let me just try and draw that through. Have that low, okay, breaking that high, and our price is doing that pullback like I showed you with that doji and that next bearish candle, and actually the bearish and the bullish candle. Okay, so we see a slight pullback here. Price came back down to take out those lows and then shot back up. Okay, so for me this one is what we call the falling knife, meaning that you don't know where it will land on. Okay, so we just need to be very, very careful to see on how price will play out from this point. For now, I just see price shooting to the upside to come and mitigate this, say, internal supply, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so from this supply we see price reacted from there, and actually this is a bearish flag. Okay, as you can see, this is a bearish flag for me, and it's also a downtrend. Okay, so maybe it might break to the upside like that, and then continue with a move to the upside like that. Okay, so aside from that, we see pullback to yet again the supply, but for me, I'll be expecting maybe price to at least come back lower to either this demand, okay, and maybe react on from there, because in this daily demand, after this change of character, price didn't come back. We have these lows that need to be taken out, and also this void to be filled. Okay, so those are the confluences that I have. So if price does come down here, then I'll be looking for that possible move, okay, so that I can play that continuation to the upside. So yet again, I'm not an advisor for me to tell you to take that trade, but I'm just trying to tell you that that's how I look at the charts from there. Okay, so I think that's the daily. Let's now look at the 4-hour. Now 4-hour things are a bit interesting, and we see, for me, I see that I had a change of character here. Okay, now remember the weekly and the daily demand, okay, also has a daily and 4-hour demand that were unmitigated. So say for example now, from the weekly we saw that demand was around here. Okay, now from the 4-hour we see, from the daily we see it's this green one, and the 4-hour now for me I see it's this one. Okay, this one here before price shot to the upside. Okay, so I'm guessing that all this pullback maybe could come down to this area. Okay, so let me just leave this one on after explaining about the structure. So I'm playing between that high and this low. So zooming in so that you can get a good view, we see price pulling back down. Okay, it wanted to react off from this demand. Okay, for this trade, check my previous videos to know how it actually played out. But for me, it's a missed trade, so I won't lie to you, I didn't take it. Okay, but I should have taken it. But price came back down right there to look if they would react from it and then continue to the upside, but that wasn't the case. So price came in down, okay, to mitigate these exchanging wicks, which in the lower time frame should be demand. and then we see double bottom and a couple of lows also, relative lows being created around there, which price now came later on and took them out. Okay, so after taking them out, they did mitigate this demand. So you see how these people are trying to be very tricky. Okay, then again, they didn't mitigate this demand. What did they do? They push price up to, create that change of character. Then a slight pullback happened here. Okay, so now this is where I want you to pay attention. Now, after this slight pullback that happened there, for me, I already, again, I said just like in the DAX, okay, my actual markups were not the same as in my phone as from my PC. Because for my PC, I already marked this as my demand expecting for price to come to, as you can see with the benefit of hindsight. Okay, came and reacted from there, and then price shot to the upside. So you see, this would have been a very, very nice trade, coming in this week, especially on a Monday, to just close in right there. So imagine this trade and the one on the DAX. I mean, that would have been very awesome. But anyway, nothing to regret about. Let's just, uh, sweep the mess under the rug and that continue with our lives. So that would have been the trade that I would have taken this week from Euro USD to actually anticipate that these highs will be taken out. Okay, so after taking them out, we see price coming back down to mitigate that demand and then price short to the upside. So again, we see another move to the upside from there after this range, okay, to take out these highs, and then we had another change of character. That is the bearish one, but price didn't actually close down with the um, candle close below. Then after that change of character from the 4 hour, we see price pulling back up to somewhat some supply areas, especially on the lower time frames like 15 minutes. And then that's when I think NFP push price to the lower side to come back down to mitigate this whole range demand. Okay, so again, we see after that move, we see price just now playing, ping pong in between this, say this high, this low. Okay, and I think we had CPI around here, which was on Friday, which price, came back down like that, and then, just came back up. And as you can see, we are not even making any sudden moves or maybe showing any signs of any significant move that they are actually trying to make. So that's just how the week ended, okay, with Euro USD. Now, for my forecast, okay, I can say that after this range, price would maybe continue to the downside to come and mitigate this area of demand, or maybe also this demand, because if you check very clearly, also this one wasn't mitigated. Okay, so I think this would be also another demand that could be come and mitigate price, and then price reacts from, okay, from there, and then maybe look for any areas of supply, and then maybe continue to the downside. Well, overall, we still are on an uptrend, so maybe this whole move to the upside, especially from here, could be another reason for just price to, continue to the upside from there. So like I said, anything can happen, but if you want, check out the links in my description box, where you will see my group link, okay, which is a group we can get to interact and also share ideas and also make money together. Okay, so all that put together, we can say that because the USDCHF, especially on the 4 hour, for me, I'm anticipating that move to the upside to, to facilitate that 4 hour pullback. For the Euro USD, now I'll be anticipating that pullback to be to the downside. Okay, and that's the reason why I love looking at Euro USD and USD because they move totally opposite. Okay, so if price does, come to the upside like that to take out those highs, and then I get that vibe, maybe take out these highs again, okay, then we have that low being broken, then I'll be very, very happy to take sell order from any supply from there, and then continue to the downside to actually facilitate the whole pullback of the 4 hour structure. Okay, so I think that's just the focus on the 4 hour for Euro USD. Now let's jump into the 15 minutes to show you how crazy I was and how stupid I got, okay, to actually take two losses. I mean, two losses. I cannot even say that again because it's very painful. But yet again, it's still, still the game, and that's how it's played. So from this trade we saw on the 4 hour, we see also here that it actually played well to the upside. So price went up like that, okay, had a change of character right there, and then price started playing around those demands. So you see those demands right there, right there, right there. Now from this demand, I felt that maybe we will still continue to the upside and mitigate deeper inside that 4 hour supply. So yeah, 4 hour supply and also 15-minute supply. So I think the 15-minute supply is way back here. Okay, it's way back here. So I felt maybe we would go up to that point, but that wasn't the case. So as you can see, price came back down. Okay, took me out and also took everyone out, including myself. Okay, especially on this low stop loss, and that's just how I lost the first trade. So again, when price went up to take out those highs, it came back down to this demand, fooling me once again. Okay, with this demand, thinking that maybe they will, make that move to the downside again, but that wasn't the case. What did it do? Came back down, took me out again. Okay, so it's now from that point that I see price shooting to the upside. That was cold. That was cold, man. I mean, that was very, very cold. So yeah, I think now on Wednesday before NFP, we see liquidity being taken out, and then price now shooting to the downside, causing that change of character, very change of character, and price just, continued selling and taking out all those lows, especially here. Okay, especially here on the sell side. So meaning now the internal structure also has shifted bearish. So we have this low being broken with NFP right there. And now after NFP, we see the price is now just ranging inside that high and this low. Okay. So as you can see, all the way through Thursday and Friday, okay, price has just been playing around some few supplies and demand areas to just, take people out, take people out, take people out, and then, before they make the actual move. But for me, I see this supply, okay, holding this one because it reacted from this supply. So we see the kind of downward momentum being created right here. Okay, so I'm expecting this supply also to hold, okay, and continue to the downside like that, because we see that this supply and this supply are holding. So let's just see what will happen. But for me, I'm expecting for at least price to just continue to the downside from there. Okay, so yet again, I'm not a guru, but that's just what I'm used to seeing when I, spot such kind of patterns. Okay. So another thing also, this deeper pullback could happen. And if I'm going to, get my trades from there, then I'll be targeting this demand. Okay. Or maybe this demand, because this was the last one before that break, the whole break of structure. And also it took out that low, caused a change of character, and price did come back to those area of demand. So meaning that this could be my next demand that price could come to, to facilitate that pullback of the 15-minute structure, and also mitigate that demand before maybe continue to the downside, to continue to the upside, and still again facilitate the pullback and also respect the order flow to the downside of the internal structure range, or rather, mapped inside also the 15-minute swing structure. Okay, so for the internal structure, this is what is happening. We have that high, okay, breaking that low. Okay, so maybe this could be the lower high, and then we look for another lower low, lower high, lower low, up to there before maybe we change those directions to the upside like that. So anything can happen, but for me, that's just how I'm looking at things and expecting them to play out next week. So I don't have much. Just that is just that from those trades that were actually a loss. I can say that I've lost 1%. Okay, from my account. Actually, 2%. Yeah, 2%. Yeah, so I am back at 5% of my FTMO phase one, but I'm expecting next week I'll have to be very strict to, look for opportunities from the PC, because my phone, I really don't know how to do about it, how to go about it. But if there's any one of you that maybe could have an idea for me, then I'll be very much appreciative to hear what maybe you could give me as an idea, so that I can merge my account from the PC and also the phone to actually operate in the same Gmail account. But all the same, that's just what I have in mind. That's what I have installed. That is what I am seeing from the charts. If you want us to trade together, let me know. All my links are in the description box. Okay. And also don't forget to, show some love, show some support from all those links, with the liking and subscribing, sharing, and all that stuff. But for now, I just want to wish you a very good weekend. Happy Valentine's to all the couples, and yeah, you have a blessed time. See you on the next one.